Across the company, we're focused on safety, returning the 737 MAX to service, and earning and re-earning the trust and confidence of customers, regulators, and the flying public.
The plane maker is working on a software update to address a glitch in the anti-stall system, which has been linked to the Lion Air crash in October and the Ethiopian Airlines disaster last month. Boeing reportedly hopes to get the fix approved by regulators in May, which would enable the company to resume deliveries and accept payments by July.
Well, let's get more on Boeing's woes now with Chris Roebuck in London. He's a visiting professor of transformational leadership at the Cass Business School. Welcome back to Money Talks, Chris. The 737 MAX crisis is clearly taking a toll on Boeing's bottom line, but they've largely been in line with expectations. Do you expect the company to take a bigger hit in future quarters?
Yeah, logically, I would describe perhaps quarter one as the gathering storm, quarter two, if it goes well and they can start delivering again in July, as the storm. But if that doesn't work out, the storm could last into quarter three. Now, we have to remember that the plane was grounded on the 11th of March. So proportionately, in terms of the quarter, given the impact over those few weeks, that was quite significant. If you now look at a quarter where the whole quarter could be grounded, that is a major problem. But it's not just about this software issue and getting the plane up in the air. As the head of Boeing was sort of quoted in terms of we need to regain trust, there is a fundamental question about some of the leadership decisions that were taken in Boeing, some of the questions about the reputation of Boeing after these two crashes, and questions about the legal liability of Boeing as a result of those crashes. And there are people who are suggesting that there are leaders within Boeing who have, in the recent past, put profitability ahead of safety, which for an aircraft manufacturer is a game changer.
Yes, let's talk about that leadership aspect, because as you say, there has been some talk about the leaders of the company being quite arrogant and perhaps a bit of hubris in the mix there when it came to this rolling out the 737 MAX aircraft. Do you expect heads to roll sometime in the near future?
I think now there's been two crashes and the legal world and other regulators other than the FAA are going to be very sceptical because other regulators look to the FAA. Now other regulators are looking at the role of the FAA in terms of allowing self-certification for safety through Boeing as putting the FAA perhaps on the second level. But if we take a step back, if you think about this, Boeing needed a new efficient aircraft to meet the needs of the market. What they did was they bolted bigger engines onto an existing aircraft to save money, make more profit, that made it unstable. They introduced software to deal with the instability, but the critical indicator for the crew to show that the signals going to the software from the sensors were wrong was an extra, not included as a basic safety to make a little bit more money. And then, in terms of pilot training to keep costs down and increase profits for speedy implementation, they said pilots only needed to be trained on an iPad for 2 hours. Yes. No simulator training. So that the people in the situation with Ethiopia and Lion Air had somewhere in the region of under 1 minute if the software malfunctioned on takeoff to work out what happened and what to do about it. Questions are going to be asked about who authorised and allowed those things to happen and who in the FAA said it was okay, because that has breached trust.
Chris, let's talk quickly about Boeing's reputational damage, because that's been more hard to quantify. What sort of a hit has that taken?
It's taken, as I just said, the path by which we ended up getting to Lion Air and Ethiopian Airlines illustrates to both regulators outside the US and to the travelling public that there is an indication that Boeing is more concerned about profitability than it is about safety. If the investigations reveal that that is indeed the case, the reputational damage could be colossal and long-lasting. And it means that airlines might say, OK, we don't want our 737 orders anymore. We're going to go to Airbus. Now, it's not just about airlines. with the Ethiopian crash, there were a significant number of the travelling public, particularly in US, who were looking online to see what the aircraft type was before they booked a ticket. So it's just as much about the travelling public.
Sure is. OK, Chris Roebuck, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you for your analysis as always.